Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Oh boy, so here's a line I've said before. CNN is at it again. Clearly this network never learns. You know, learning from your mistakes is certainly viewed as a virtue. Well, this clown news network continues to prove to the world that they are virtueless, as once again they're caught in another lie, caught promoting straight up embarrassing fake news and presenting it as expert opinion and analysis. Caught in yet again another lie as Caitlin Collins brings on another clueless leftist hack. One of these so-called experts that they keep trotting out to pretend as if they know what the hell they're talking about. They brought on this clueless leftist hack to attack Lee Zeldin over EPA regulation cuts, and essentially he was claiming that Lee Zeldin has no idea what he's doing as he's leading regulatory cuts at the EPA, suggesting they're just rushing through this, they don't know what they're talking about, and he based this analysis of incompetence based on the administration supposedly releasing an official memo with all kinds of typos. But here's the problem, it wasn't a typo. No, instead he was just a know-nothing, clueless, leftist propagandist who didn't even have the proper credentials to be able to analyze the headline in the first place. Yet again, another embarrassing moment for CNN, and certainly very telling about the lack of journalistic integrity at the network. And that right there is exactly what we're going to talk about today. Let's continue to expose this dishonest propagandist outlet. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so let's first start off with a report from CNN. Here's the latest accusation against the Trump administration, labeling them as incompetents who don't know what the hell they're doing.
Today, Lee Zeldin put out a video on X, and they were putting out press releases with such a flurry, about 31 different actions and rollbacks, that some of them had typos or placeholders at the top. We have one of those there. Trump EPA announces 000. You can see there, it's sort of shoot first, fill out the press release later.
Yeah, except there's a little bit of an issue here. This guy was reading the headline of the latest memo released by Lee Zeldin and identified those 4 O's and immediately just assumed, probably because he's completely ignorant and a partisan hack, that it was just a bunch of zeros accidentally thrown in. Oh, whoops. Someone at the Trump administration must have just fell on the keyboard and spammed a bunch of zeros. What a bunch of idiots who don't know what the hell they're doing. And so he immediately makes that assumption, labels Lee Zeldin as an idiot, but of course you get where this is going. It turns out that those aren't even zeros at all. No, rather, they're O's. Lee Zeldin responded, and as you can see, it refers to quad O's, a real regulatory code under the Clean Air Act, 40 CFR Part 60 subpart quad O. And you know, with maybe just a little bit of research, digging, maybe asking the Trump administration, they could have found that out, or asking any expert who's knowledgeable about these sort of things. They could have probably done their basic due diligence to understand what they were talking about before getting on air and spewing this nonsense. But no, that's not the way that it works at CNN. It's promote the anti-Trump narrative and ask questions later. In other words, total journalistic malpractice. But you know, he's just a CNN guest, so it is what it is. CNN guests say all kinds of nonsense all the time. Where the real issue comes is in Caitlin Collins' behavior. Because you know, if he was a Republican saying something similar about the Biden administration, Caitlin would have been on this guy like a damn vulture, interrupting, sneering, and doing her phony fact-checking as she attempts to debunk the scary Republican, in real time. But when a leftist hack comes on and just starts making blatantly false claims, he gets to do so without verification or any pushback whatsoever. She just sits there nodding along like a good little leftist shill NPC. You can just feel the partisan bias oozing from the frickin' screen. It's honestly despicable, and it's a clear pattern. We've been watching and analyzing Caitlin Collins for years. Anytime she sits down with a Republican, she barely lets the Republican guest even get through a frickin' sentence without interjecting and pushing Democrat Party talking points. It's blatant bias. And honestly, it reminds me of an undercover video from James O'Keefe from not so long ago, where they caught a CNN journalist straight up just admitting that CNN doesn't even do real journalism. No, instead they push propaganda.
Use propaganda?
Oh no.
Okay, can you define propaganda? Like, I think I know, but like, how is it, what's the mechanism?
If the agenda, say, is to like get, like Matt Gaetz right now, he's like this Republican, like he's a problem for the Democratic Party because he's so conservative, right? And he can cause a lot of hiccups in passing of laws and whatnot. So it would be great for the Democratic Party to get him out. So we're going to keep running those stories to keep hurting him and make it so that it can't be buried and like just settled outside of court, and just like if we keep pushing that, it's helping us. That's propaganda. It's helping us in some.
Yeah, well, it seems like in that undercover video, this guy was telling the truth. It's just non-stop BS. They run anything that they think might be damaging to Trump or his administration without doing any real verification. I mean, just look at this other garbage segment that ran today, where Jake Tapper, another serial CNN leftist liar, goes on air quoting a Washington Post hit piece from a month ago, claiming that the Trump administration is cutting an important program that's countering al-Shabaab bomb makers.
So last month, the Washington Post reported that the freeze on U.S. foreign assistance in Africa has, quote, threatened programs intended to counter al-Shabaab bomb makers, contain the spread of al-Qaeda across West Africa, and secure Islamic State prisoners in the Middle East, according to U.S. officials and aid workers, unquote. Are those cuts still in place? Are you concerned about them at all?
Is that the same Washington Post that propagated the Russia-Russia collusion hoax for the last 8 years?
Well, regardless of the Russia-Russia...
No, not regardless. You're quoting the Washington Post to me, which is as effective as posting for me or quoting to me any other pillar of the fake news industrial complex. I really couldn't care less what the Washington Post or the New York Times says, especially when it's anonymous government officials. If it's true, put your name to it. If it's not, shut up.
What a complete joke. I think Sebastian Gorka's response was totally justified. To bring up a report like this from the Washington Post, a claim being made from an anonymous source with zero proof is clearly predatory journalism. And not to mention, after a whole month, there's been zero independent verification. No follow-up evidence, nothing. But does CNN care? Of course not. It fits the narrative, so run with it. It's right back to the 2016 tactics. All kinds of leaking and anonymous sources making all of these ridiculous claims, and then the media fear-mongering the people and running with all these ridiculous, in most cases, blatant hoaxes. They're just awful, and the partisan bias is written so clearly on their faces. And what makes it all so much worse is the obnoxious, condescending tone that they constantly use when referring to their own credibility and in their demeaning attacks towards conservatives. These are the same people who lecture the rest of us about how they're the ones who are dealing in facts and how Republicans are supposedly allergic to reality and facts. I mean, that's essentially what Abby Phillips recently said.
Is this the new reality for this MAGA era of politicians, that they don't back down when they're confronted with facts? It's clear as day. The FBI put out statistics. Crime is going down. You don't have to twist the facts.
The FBI quietly comes out with this new data that shows actually violent crime is up 4.5% during that time frame.
The only person making an accusation that people are not getting what they've asked for is Trump, falsely claiming that the administration is withholding resources because of political affiliation. That is just not true.
Well, the Federal Emergency Management Agency is facing major backlash after confirming reports that a supervisor ordered disaster relief workers to avoid homes with Trump yard signs.
There's actually not any evidence linking any of Hunter Biden's wrongdoings to Joe Biden. You are incorrect. You think that Biden would actually pardon Hunter Biden, despite him saying
Yes, as a father, he would.
No. President has ruled out pardoning his son.
Breaking news. President Biden has just pardoned his son.
But the only people, and frankly the only person, who seems to have a severe allergy to the truth is Abby Phillips herself. She's constantly getting stories wrong, constantly getting fact-checked in real time, constantly getting caught pushing blatantly false information.
Hold on, Scott. You just said something that's not correct.
What?
You tried to slip it in there. You said at the order of the president. That is completely false.
He did not appoint the prosecutor?
It is completely false that Joe Biden ordered the creation of someone to investigate Donald Trump.
He said on the record multiple times that Donald Trump should have been thrown in jail, and said that Merrick Garland failed by not doing it. I think I am making a simple personnel argument.
What's wrong with it?
The Justice Department exists in the executive branch,
Hold on.
It exists under the president. It is not an independent agency.
You did vote against the defense appropriations bill.
No, I didn't.
The rule.
Abby, this is going to be a very embarrassing moment when the internet corrects you on this. I voted for the defense rule both times.
When she was running, she said, I'm done with, fracking, we're going to do away with it. You can't say you're going to do away with it. They had her dead to right on that.
She reversed herself in 2020. That's
not true. No, she didn't,
Abby. That's not accurate at all.
But you know what?
But it's a weak argument.
No, Scott, it's a lie.
Do you acknowledge that Zelensky has thanked the United States?
He has on occasion.
Dozens of occasions.
But I will also point out.
Dozens of occasions.
But I will also point out that in 2022, in a phone call with Joe Biden had to scream at him on the phone, according to NBC News, and say, hey, you could be a little more grateful for what we're doing for you in the United States. Right. He's a frustrating guy to deal with. On that, we have bipartisan presidential consensus.
I get that. We have disagreements privately. It happened during World War II. It happened with Biden. The difference is that this played out publicly on purpose.
Right. And why go to the Oval Office in a language you don't really speak that well without an interpreter and pick a fight with the president and vice president of the United States, regardless if you don't like what they had to say? Is there some reason he couldn't just sit there and say, thank you so much? Where's the papers? Where's the salmon?
Does Dan Bongino have the qualifications to be the second person in charge of the FBI?
Yes. He has law enforcement. He has academic.
And you look at his resume and compare it to Republican and Democrat nominees for that same position. Is he qualified?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm not sure all the people that have been appointed in the past have covered themselves in glory. And some of them have done a terrible job and gotten in lots of trouble.
Look,
and this is a reform-minded administration. They got outsiders.
What a complete joke. This entire network is a joke. And what's so hilarious is that they actually pretend as if they have the moral high ground. They're truthful and accurate in their reporting. No, CNN, you are fake news.
You are fake news.
And that's not an opinion. It's not even a theory anymore. It's a freaking diagnosis based on hard evidence, your own history, and even the self-admission of your own employee, your own journalist, who essentially admitted it all while being secretly recorded by James O'Keefe's team.
You are fake news.
Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.